Hi everyone. Not that long ago, probably about a year ago, I started posting a few videos on TikTok. Never really interested me, if I was honest. The reason why I did it is because someone was using my clips. This is a strange situation. Couldn't work that one out, could you? Anyway, let's start again. Yeah, I started posting a few clips on TikTok just over a year or so ago. Someone was using my clips, as many people do, and many people do get reported for this as well. I'll continue to do that anyway, it's another matter. But yeah, I started using TikTok to share a few of my clips, and quite simply, you sort of like get drawn in. I don't know whether you're a TikTok user yourself, but you get drawn into watching other stuff. And I've watched a lot of driving instructor videos on TikTok, and I'm absolutely dismayed with the levels of teaching and the information that is being given out. It's sort of like the video that I reviewed with the driving instructor from Leeds that I've just filmed an update video on. Not going to go into that. That one's gone out already. But it's sort of the same sort of thing, but not on as bad a level. So what I'm going to do, I've started collecting a few of these clips from certain instructors, and I'm not targeting anyone. However, what I am going to do over the course of the next few months is have a look at a few of these clips and give you my opinion on them. I'm going to try and be quite constructive with what I'm talking about and the corrections that I'm going to try and make. And the reason for this is people's reach on TikTok is huge. So many people watch the videos. You can have 100,000 subs on or followers on TikTok, and the reach is absolutely colossal. Gets out to so many people, so many more people compared to YouTube. And so many people watch these videos, and I'm thinking, wow, that's wrong. That's not quite right. You shouldn't be doing things in that way. That's going to lead to problems. So I've decided to start a new series looking at TikTok instructors, and I'm going to try and correct a few things that they talk about. First one we're going to have a look at today is to do with clutch control. This skill that I'm teaching today is quite a basic skill, but do you notice I'm adding extra information to make the situation better? And that's exactly what you can do if you're thinking of purchasing a new car. Check it out on CarVertical, because the extra information might be invaluable. Straight from the off, we've got a green tick for the odometer, but the financial and legal status and damage have both got yellow ticks. What's gone on? The multiple photos show the extent of this vehicle's damage. We can see quite clearly it's had a heavy front-end hit. It's also been damaged at the side. And if we go back into another section of the report, we will see that this vehicle is actually been marked as scrap. And it looks as though it should have been scrapped by the state of that damage. CarVertical reports are really quick and easy to produce. You put the VIN number or the registration number into the CarVertical website, and quite soon you'll be sent a detailed report. Not all cars are going to be this bad, needing to be scrapped. However, do you think it's important to get some extra information so you can make the correct decision when you're purchasing your next car? I think so. Remember, use the links in the description or the code Ashley and you can save yourself 20% on this check. Thanks, CarVertical. The clip that we're looking at today is from a guy called Jason Horsfield. He's got quite a large following on TikTok, over 160,000 followers, so his audiences are large also. His video is just of his feet, and it's split into 3 sections, so we're going to be looking at, obviously, the first section.
Clutch control. Now, there's various different ways to be taught clutch control. I'm going to show you all 3 different types. and I'm going to show you the correct way that I will normally teach every single day. Now, for setting off, what you do is you put your clutch to the floor. So let's just position correctly. So ball of your foot, put your clutch to the floor, you go into gear 1, and when you've done your checks, you bring your clutch up to what's called the biting point. Now the biting point is about here, halfway up. Now at this point, the car is wanting to move. Now at this point, you've got 3 different ways of doing this. Now here's what I teach. After you've done the all-round check, after you've then got your gas just on the foot on the gas pedal, then you gently squeeze your gas as you're bringing your clutch up to the top like this. This is how a professional driver would do it, and that's how I teach from day 1 with my learners.
That will get the car moving. Now, Jason does mention in his final point that older cars or different cars need a different approach. And this is my main grumble with any of these bits of advice. How do you know how old this particular car is that you're driving, and which of these methods should you be using? Why not just teach people properly so they can use any vehicle? And this is what I'm going to try and show how to do today. I've got my pedal cam recording, and I'm also going to use my POV cam. So let's get started. I need to show you what's going on with the actual engine. So this is why I've got this thing on today. Let's just turn it on. And we are recording, so hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to address the first little point about where Jason says finding the bite first of all. This is the reason why it's a problem. I'm going to press my clutch down and put it into first gear. I am just going to sit just momentarily with my foot on the foot brake as well, so my car doesn't move. The automatic handbrake will release. What I want you to do is actually watch the rev counter here. Now in my car, if you lift the clutch up towards the biting point, there's an anti-stall measure, which is what happens with a lot of modern cars. And this is most of the reason why people will get away with operating the car in this particular manner a lot of the time. As I lift my clutch pedal up, you will hear the engine rev. There it is. As you can see, it's effectively set the gas for me first. I'll go back to this setting the gas prior to finding the bite shortly. We're going to watch a little bit more of Jason's video in a second. But what I'd like you to do is just try and understand this. So it's not quite at the bite yet. When it finds the biting point, you'll hear an engine note change. Hopefully you can pick up on that. Now, what I'd like you to do is also keep watching the rev counter, because this demonstrates why Jason's advice isn't quite right, and what it's going to do is effectively make your car try and stall. As I lift the clutch further up, the engine ECU is now realizing that there's a load on the engine. The engine's trying to pull the car away, and that creates the revs to go lower, and it puts more air and fuel into the engine and compensates. If I lift it even further, notice the revs are staying pretty much the same. Watch what happens now as I press the clutch down. Those revs blipped. Now, what's going on with that is, like I've explained, the air and the fuel are being increased to the engine to compensate for the extra load. If your car does not have this particular feature, what you're doing by finding the bite first of all is effectively pushing your car towards a stall. And even if you decide to use a little bit of gas after that, it might not recover. So that's why so many people, from their driving lessons to then transfer to their own car, have so many issues with stalling all the time. I don't need my head cam for this next little bit. Now, the next part is a common driving instructor myth also. It's about how you use the clutch pedal, and this is something Jason alludes to in his demonstration. Now, what I'd like you to think of is the clutch is, well, it consists of 2 plates. At the moment, they're together. One is connected to the engine and the other is connected to the wheels. The clutch is up, so they're connected and they're together. So they're both actually spinning. Now, when you press the clutch down, these two plates come apart. This one engine side is still spinning, and this one wheel side is still. Think of it in this way. And what actually happens when you bring the clutch up to the bite is that they touch and then start transferring this spin or this power over to this side. And what Jason said regarding lifting the clutch slowly up as you squeeze that gas when you start off is also the part that gets the car to stall. What you should do is, when you start the car off, and I might do this here, just we're in a quiet area in Newsham Park. I'll have a little look and see whether we can demonstrate this. Press the clutch down, put us into gear. Now, I'll do all my checks and make sure it's safe. But when I start off, I have a little bit of power. And then as I find the biting point, can't do it just yet because there's a couple of vehicles coming. But as I find the biting point, you have to allow this plate, this side, to match before you lift the clutch up. So it's Jason's advice to continue to lift that is the issue that I'm trying to correct. What you actually do is hold the clutch still as it's moving away, allow these two plates to match, and then you can lift the clutch up quickly. Let's just show you how it should be done, and then I'll go into a little bit more detail in a mo. So we look as though we're clear. Power, bite. It's not quite moving enough, so all we need to do is just move it up a little bit, and now it's starting to move. I hold it still whilst it moves. You can hear it go smooth, and you can just lift the clutch pedal up. And notice the car doesn't jump at that particular point. So, what Jason's effectively doing, he's allowing the students to think that there's a relationship between the car actually moving away and the clutch coming up, and that's incorrect. This isn't just Jason though, this is across the board. Let me show you something else. This is an app that I use all the time. It's on the iPad and it's by a guy called Neil Beaver. The apps are very good. I've used them for years and years and years. But this is the part on the positioning app which allows you to explain to your pupil, prepare, observe, maneuver, and actually get the car off and moving. You've got a steering wheel on here. It's all very, very useful stuff. But I'll just get rid of that a second. Oops, reset. And I just want to go up to this information tab in the top corner. And this again mirrors what Jason is teaching his students, which is the incorrect part. If you look at this bottom section where it says move, when you are sure it's safe to move off, release the handbrake and begin to ease gently off the clutch, which mirrors what Jason was saying. The more you release the clutch, the quicker the car will go. Wow, that's again on this app that goes out to so many driving instructors, and so many instructors use it. And then that information is passed across towards these pupils who are paying for these services, but it's the incorrect information. Just think of that as well. The more you release the clutch, the quicker the car will go. So when your students go, just shut that off. When your students come up to a roundabout and they wish to move off quickly, what are they going to think? They're going to think, I need to move off quickly, so I need to lift the clutch up a little quicker. And that's not how it works, as I've demonstrated. Now let's have a little look at the second section of Jason's video.
Now, some people get lazy and teach you in a car where it's a bit more forgiving, like a diesel. So a diesel, and I've had clients come to me even this week explaining this, that the instructors taught them this. They bring the clutch up to the biting point, and the diesel is quite strong and forgiving on your clutch, and then you bring your clutch up all the way to the top and you start moving a couple of car lengths before you actually put your gas on. Now, it's not going to move away very quick, but I think it's just a bit of a lazy way of teaching.
That piece of advice was perfect. There are many instructors who drive diesel cars or powerful cars like this who will just teach just to use the clutch to move away. But it does mirror what I actually just went on to talk about roundabouts. You can't move your car off quickly if you are just using your clutch pedal. But also, if you use Jason's first method, you can't move the car off as quick as you sometimes need to. Now let's have a little look at Jason's third method.
Or the third way is what's called gas and clutch. Now, I don't particularly like this way because it teaches to basically ruin your car a little bit, but you might need to put more gas on if you are using an older model car. So, for example, what they teach on this one, you've got your clutch to the floor, you're in first gear, you squeeze your gas first, so the engine's humming in the background already, and then you bring your clutch up to your biting point and set off putting more gas on at the same time. Now, some older model cars might have to be used this way, but the newer cars bring the clutch up to the bite. Once you're at the bite, then squeeze your gas and then bring your clutch up slowly to the top. And that particular technique I have used and I have taught that way for 16 years. And in 16 years, I have never, ever, ever lost a clutch on a car. So this technique really does work. It's great for setting off. If you want to set off quicker, you just put more gas on as you bring in your clutch up as well. And that's the easy way for doing it. But your clutch has to be brought up very slowly. So it looks like this. Clutch down first gear, up to that biting point. As we start to move now, clutch up to the top while you're squeezing your gas at the same time, like that. And that is clutch control for setting off.
So that's the way that I teach. I always teach power before you actually move away. And if you think about it, it has to be the correct way. Because if you go back to what I was saying about the load on the engine, if your car doesn't have that little rev first and you just bring the clutch up, you're going to push that engine note lower and lower and lower, and it's going to push to a stall. If you have that power first, your car's never going to get to that stage. And anyway, if you think about what my car does prior to actually finding a bite, it revs itself or it sets the gas itself. So it's a load of rubbish to say that this isn't the correct way to do it. Jason also mentions that it ruins your car. It doesn't. Jason said that in 16 years he's never had a clutch replaced. Well, I can top trump that because in 25 years of teaching it in this particular way, I've never had a clutch replaced either. So what's the big take from this video? Be careful of what any driving instructor says on TikTok or any other platform. It's really difficult nowadays because everyone's having a go at it. Everyone's having their opinion and everyone's got different methods. And yes, there are different methods. However, as always, I'll try and give some reasoning behind it. My method that I use is suitable for any person in any vehicle. You don't have to be vehicle specific. You don't have to think, well, how old is my vehicle? What do I need to do? It doesn't ruin the clutch. It gives you that option of allowing the car to move off a little bit quicker because you've got that more power available. Just remember, the clutch is a way of transferring that power. You can have more power, but then hold the bike for a little longer. But remember, we didn't touch on it loads, but there was a little bit as I was moving off, I said about listen to the engine go smooth. And that's how you can tell when the clutch can just be lifted. So that term, although I still use it, that term of clutch slowly up is really irrelevant. The reason why I still use it is because sometimes students won't quite, or not even students, people who drive won't quite have listened to that smoothness to know exactly when the clutch can be lifted fully. So it sort of like compensates for a little bit of error. However, if you're listening and you're listening for that smoothness, you can actually launch your clutch up. There's a driving instructor myth that you use your clutch slowly. To push it down, no, quickly. To put it from the floor or lift from the floor to the biting point, you also don't lift it slowly. You lift it, but then slow the clutch down as it arrives at the biting point. And then when it gets to the point where the car's moving, you hold it still. Then when you listen for the smoothness, you lift quickly again. So, like I said, it's a driving instructor myth that you use your clutch slowly. Hopefully, that's been informative and helpful for you. Jason, please don't take offense. All I'm trying to do is give people the correct information so anyone can drive any vehicle. And this series is going to continue because there's plenty of stuff on TikTok that's not quite right. Keep safe, everyone. I'll see you soon.